I will introduce you hydrological monitoring in Estonia. I already introduced myself. I'm the head of hydrological department in the Estonian Environment Agency. Estonian Environment Agency is responsible for all the environmental monitoring in Estonia, meaning like wild nature, forest, water saving, hydrobiology, hydrochemistry. My responsibility is only quantitative monitoring of our surface water resources. The hydrological monitoring itself involves measuring water levels, water temperature, also discharge. Involves also the coastal sea water level monitoring. What the aim? There are two main aims to provide the operative overview about how much we have water, but the other aim is to provide long-term data for warnings, civil engineering calculations, probability calculations, and that kind of services. And also prognosis. We have 55 discharge gauging stations, and then also in addition 7 stations which we don't measure discharge, but just water level, and 15 stations which are on the coastal sea. We also have the Lake Peipsi monitor. We have a special like multifunctional voice station also on the Lake Peipsi. All the stations which we have are nowadays automatic stations. Estonia has very long history in hydrological observations and monitoring, but only since 2006, all our stations are automatic stations, which means that there is like sensors going into the river, which is measuring the pressure from the water on it, and from that the water level is calculated, and it measures 6 times per minute, and then we get the hourly data, which gives us then the hourly average, hourly minimum, hourly maximum. From these data, we calculate daily minimum, daily average, daily maximum, and then also we operate with such characteristics like monthly minimum, maximum, average. Which why the minimum and maximum are important actually is to detect the impact of climate change to the water resource. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not a hydrologist, I'm a manager, but I've worked in this field for 4.5 years, and so I also have learned something. So I feel competent enough to speak about it. Well, what we measure water level in our stations only 20 plus times a year, meaning that it's less than 2 times a month. But the discharge is important because this is actually the quantity. Water level doesn't show exactly the real quantity of water. It indicates how high is the water level at the current moment, but what is the resource? What about the resource? The discharge is important. And so nowadays, the database calculates the discharge against water level. It is called rating curve, meaning that it's not like linear relation. No, not at all. Because in Estonia, actually not in Estonia, but in that kind of rivers, which have also ice in winter time, and a lot of weed during summertime. The rating curve is different when the beginning of ice conditions and the end of the ice conditions. On the river, the ice thickness is not so important because you never know. The rivers are different because if the river has a lot of springs in it, then it might not get stable ice conditions. We have now in 5 stations the flow rate measuring device. Yeah, in Germany, where many measurements are done in artificial channels, it's really very stable and we get very good results. But in natural rivers, you have to make for at least 1 year parallel measurements to calibrate the device to get it adjusted to that place. So it's a bit good, but anyway, we are also making this innovation. There are 2 types. One is from the bottom looking, meaning that the beams of this device cover the profile of the river from bottom like this, and then also a side looking devices in Rana Jõesuu, which we crossed yesterday. It's not camera. No, it's not camera. It's discharge measurement. It's not for physics. It's for the discharge. And as I explained yesterday, in unknown, it's a very special river mass because during springtime we have rewind flow. Because the other river which joins the river Emajõgi brings so much water. So in our work we use drones sometimes on site. A few reasons. For example, when we go to the station and see that there is unusually low water level or unusually big water level, then we suppose that maybe there is some beaver dams upstairs or downstairs or very heavy ice conditions which cause this phenomenon. There's also one aim with the drones which we started this year is to map the urban flash floods. It often in urban conditions, it has nothing to do with hydrology, it's solar. But since we have drones, we thought that it may be useful to map the regular flooded areas during heavy rains in a few cities like Tartu, Tallinn, and Pärnu. We give the third category warning that please don't go along the seaside. It's icy, very dangerous rain. Instead of the mid-section method, which means that we have the river profile, then we have the verticals, and the discharging measured in certain points on this vertical, and we get for the whole profile, we get maybe 20 to 100 points. These new devices give us like a few thousands of points of the velocity of the flow. Although this is much more precise, we still compare it to the propeller. As I mentioned, the Second World War, young Estonian Republic understood the importance of the water as the resource, and also the importance of having knowledge about this resource. And then started establishing the permanent hydrological network in Estonia, and it was along the Narva River, 1920s, and then in this region, Soomaa, a few stations, and so actually the number of stations grew from 1 to 100 plus with those years, like within 30 years. Riga station, which is today the only working, continuously working station in this area. This is the last station, and all the other stations are closed by now. 3 years ago, it was actually we had still small 2019, 2020 winter. Yeah, the climatological winter lasted 5 days when we had permanent snow cover measured and registered permanent snow cover. It was really good. Actually, the water was fine all through the winter because why usually the winter months like December, January, February are typically low water month is because the water is frozen. And that's why there is no flowing water. And in this year, that year, where there was only 5 days long registered 5 days long winter, the water levels through the December, January, February, March, actually they were permanently far higher than average, because typically these months are low water month. Riga station is the last one still working. Its catchment area is also almost 2,000 kilometers, means that it involves all the catchment areas of the upstream stations as well. So the catchment of catchment of this area is nearly 2,000 kilometers. Still continuously working, and nowadays the spring high water is not so dramatic anymore. It is stretched along the longer period of time, and the peaks are not so high. It doesn't mean that we have less water. It doesn't mean. Actually, the precipitation trend is a little bit increasing. It's a very small change, but if you see the long-term trend, then you can say that precipitation is increasing. But it's divided around all the year. So it's something in history. Each station has such a document which we call technical passport. And in this document, actually, the whole history of the station is recorded, like the opening, in case there is transition of the station, who were the observers in these stations, what are the like extreme years. Many other interesting information, the changes in technology, new devices, and also the historical tradition, which we also practice today, is annual or regular inspection in the station, meaning that before the automatic devices, actually, and especially before the Second World War, the water level was like professional. And the water level stations were, in most of the cases, were established along someone's property, And the owner of the property also provided this water level observing and discharge measurement service. And of course, they all, before starting, they had training. And then afterwards, once a year, the inspector came and inspected how this observer is working. Does he or she making all the measurements correctly? And also these inspections were recorded in this technical passport. And we do it today again also. The other stations upstream, Riisa River, Sandra, a few pictures also. Yeah, this is 1948 and 45, big spring waters. Then Solguti station was, didn't work during the Second World War, 1 year. Then Riinmu stations, also upstairs. Then Reinaste station, I couldn't find any reports, any technical passport, any photos. Kuuste station, it was also working, and also 1951, which was really wet year in Estonia. The Kuuste station was located at a small stream, meaning that in order to measure the discharge, they have to construct like a dam in order to get the amount of water, because during the summer months there's we use this same method. It's called overflow. In order to get the enough water to measure it, you have to a little bit expand it, how to explain. You have to raise the water level in order to get the water enough to measure it. I would say that actually the beginning of all 1920s, really good years for Estonian hydrology, and also here in Soomaa. The 1931 was the year of maximum water levels throughout the history, and the 1951 was actually the maximum measured discharges in our waters, meaning that the water discharge are not also having the same time the maximums. It may differ.